This is day 453 of the Arukh HaShulchan. If you'd like to sponsor a coming year or more of the Arukh HaShulchan, we'd very greatly appreciate it. Please contact me directly. And of course, we're still today in Simon Samach Aleph. And, Shin Aleph, sorry. Simon Shin Aleph. And today we are doing Pei Hey to Tzadik Aleph. Pei Hey. V'achar kach omer. This we're talking about... we're trying to explain the Ramah, who is talking about things which are connected to your garment, sewn on or whatever, such as the tags which Jews had to wear, and handkerchiefs, etc. So first he said, Ramah says that if it's jewelry, it's okay. If it's a decree that you have to wear, it's also okay. But so, something which is necessary for the body, like a handkerchief which you use to wipe your nose, you're allowed to connect it to the garment, by weaving or sewing, and it's negated to the garment. But to tie it onto the garment, also that's no good. And if you put it on your belt, it doesn't even work to sew it onto your belt. Because it's interesting, a belt is not going to be significant enough that the handkerchief should be negated to it, Vava Masui, and then it is a burden. That's the Magen Avram, who says that. But Mr. Brura says that if you put the handkerchief at the head of the belt and use the handkerchief as a way of holding the sides of it together, then it would be permissible. Back to Arukh HaShulchan. V'day you should know sheish mishimanti l'ksho rosh chagur brosh mipachas v'keshin shagama v'yekha chagur aruka. There are those who allow you to tie, and it's not like the Mishnah we're using actually as the quote-unquote mechanism, but you just tie the handkerchief to the end of the belt and with a temporary knot, and it's like an longer belt. It's the Taz. Arukh HaShulchan rejects this. He says, "Ain't a move on heter zeh." This is not clear. Why should we mutter? First of all, because you have to sew it. If we say that a strong knot is like sewing, which is evidently indicated by the Bach, nevertheless a temporary knot, certainly not like sewing. We have to be take into account that potentially the knot will come apart, v'yipo and handkerchief, so you'll come to carry it. Besides this, everybody sees are two separate things. This is not all a belt. Therefore, we can't permit this. Brackets, he says here, we got Melia Rabba, Graz, Mefakmi, Mizan Sham, Batais, Shabbos, the Begad Sort Fira, Bechagura to Taik Shira. The Taisus Shabbos says that by a garment sewing, by a belt, all you need is tying. I Sham Aimbas at time, or Arukh HaShulchan says I have no idea why this should be. So Mr. Bura suggests that that perhaps Taisus Shabbos talks about his eitzah, where you tie it on very strongly to the edge of the belt and use it as the mechanism of the belt. Mashkasa Ramashul Hashmiel Kol. Ramah says that you're not allowed to attach something to your garment which is going to make a noise. The Magen Avram asks that actually is also only by musical instruments. That it's something which you shouldn't put on some sort of adornment, even sew onto your garment, some sort of adornment which is going to make have a musical quality to it. Peva Shani by Mishnah. We learned in the Mishnah a person may not wear a studded sandal which has nails sticking out on Shabbos. It is a wooden sandal. Talking about Masmer Smala, and they pound in nails on top. To hold the top down onto the bottom. And the Gemara says, it's the nails come to strengthen the shoe. But it's for adornment, it's miscible. A sign that it's for decorations when there are 5 or 7 nails in every sandal. And if you put a leather shoe inside, I guess, inside the framework of the sandal, the top row when you sewed it in, nasa magavo sandal minavo sandal becomes a shoe, not a sandal mutar festival. Chema so maser coming cowbus. We made the nails like a staple. Zel pat keves shalanu mutar. That's mutar. Because we're going to say they only made the decree by straight nails. Also, you cover completely with nails so that the ground does not doesn't get rubbed out by the ground. Mutter, that's missile. Time there is the reason for the stairs. We name Shabbat Machas Nego b'Shabbos Harbei Yisrael, because one time many people on Shabbos, many Jews were killed. Made the pacha because they were taken. They're afraid. Romans were outside their cave when they're hiding inside, and many of them killed pacha because of fear. Because they all piled up on each other inside the cave, and these sandals killed more people than the Romans did. The Gazolem Shlomo, some of the Talmud shops, they definitely made a decree not to carry them, not to carry them or put them on shops. Now this thing is not relevant. Much less of a tour like the tour. Our shoes, which are have nails and are not included. They're only specifically according to the form which they were back then. Besides, ours are of leather, and not of wood. That's why it's not mentioned Shulchan. But Rambam, his case, it gets to the Rambam, writes it very briefly. Ayin Shom. But it says in brackets, Ayin Shom, Lo Shemanu said. So it says that some people still ask you today, and Arukh HaShulchan says, never heard of such a thing. Pay design. Custom of Rambam, Shom, Din Yuches. Yotzei v'chosim shall teach the slave go out with a seal of pitch on his neck, but not with a seal of metal. Because it may fall down and he will carry it. If it's made of pitch, hardened pitch, she pull Yishaver. When it falls, it's going to break. So why would he bring it? Mara says that the seal is on his garment. Also, even if it's a pitch, it's forbidden. Or if it's going to fall, and break. And since he's afraid to walk without a seal in public, he's going to take off the garment and put it on his shoulders in order to conceal the lack of the seal. It seems that the seal was lightly connected to the garment. Connected by sewing or by weaving. Why be concerned that it might fall down? Don't bring the sandwich. Because we don't have slaves anymore. Rambam also was very brief concerning this halacha, like we wrote about in the previous sif. Peiches, Kasab Rambam, if somebody's wearing a talis and he folded from here and from here in his hands or on his shoulder, if he wants to gather the folds so they shouldn't rip or get dirty, also it's forbidden. If he gathered them in order to adorn himself like people do in that place, it's permissible. Somebody goes out with a folded talis, it's folded, as it's folded for storage, and it's on shoulder chayiv. But he's allowed to go out with a scarf on his shoulder, even if he doesn't have a thread tied onto his finger. Any scarf which doesn't cover his head and most of his torso, also let's say, but he's not allowed to wear out. Sakanis Kitzara She'enu Rechava. Not sure exactly what this is, but it's something which is short and not wide. He ties the two sides below the shoulders. And somehow that's like a belt. You're allowed to wear it out. I don't understand the Metzias. Maybe Arukh HaShulchan will explain it. In a brackets, Arukh HaShulchan says, the first halacha is making your garments like a gutter. It says there in the Gemara Kuf Mem Zayin that if it's in order to gather the folds, it's forbidden. At least now, if it's for adornment, it's permissible. The second word, Lashon Gemara Sham. The second law is like Gemara says, Talis Munachas Al Ktefo, Talis which is resting on his shoulder, Chayav Chatos. He's liable to Chatos. Ma'aser Bergen Shiyatza B'Surah Ktefo V'Chulei. There's a Ma'aser there. V'Nachal Ma'api Shein Nima Kshura. I'm going to say even there's no thread, but Divi Atas we're going to Chav Tamua Ayin Sham. It's difficult. Begin Shein Chav Rusharu Gam Sham Gam Ke Sham on base. Gam Sakinta Sham, and the Sakinta is also there. Ayin Sham, I guess, where it's all explained. Peites. Uvir Advaran Kenu. Barlani is Daiti. So Arukh says, clear to me this is the pshat. The Zel Katalis Shem Mitzvah. It's like Aratalis. Shem Misarta Kogufo, you wrap all your body in it. Ash Kogufo Milvanim Mecharav Mechusabo. Your whole body built before and after is covered with it. Now, this is mostly their Talais. I remember this actually from a shir in Halacha and Shalvim given by Rabbi Shmuel Haber. So now the Rosh Hashiva Incarnation I'm known for many years. Back in 1976, my first year there. I don't know why this specific halacha shir sticks there, but he gave on this halacha, and he spoke about how back then, the time of the Arukh HaShulchan, they didn't wear their talisim like we do today, which seems to be the subject. They normally wore their talisim in a way which somehow wrapped around their body, and that's he's covered front and backwards with it. But sometimes, and maybe it's like the Chazonim sometimes do, that they wrap themselves around in the talis and dangling over their arms. Okay, but in any event, so sometimes he is afraid that the corners of the talis, which are cascading over his arms, but get in front of him, reach in front of him, are going to get dirty. So he folds up the two corners from here and from here, holds him in his hand, or puts him on his shoulder. The talis goes all the way down and back, but it's not going extending on his hands. It looks in the middle, in the back, like a gutter. Okay, so it's talking about obviously where the atar of the talis is depressed lower down, so it looks like a gutter. And because the sides are clumped together, and it becomes thick, middle like a gutter. And that's the interpretation of Marzev and Gemara. That's to do with his intent. If his intent is to preserve the talis, it's also. It's not also, but if it's for adornment, so it's interesting how he says it. The adornment is not just actually adornment, but if a person's sensitive and doesn't want the talis cascading down on his arms, only on his shoulders, mutter. That's so Gam Arukh and the Arukh says the same thing. Ayin Sham, Vuva B'Teisvis, Ayin Sham. Zekas of a Rambam, Rak Asur. In any event, the Rambam only wrote it's Asur, but Chiyuv Chatas, Ein Bo Shem Makom Kom Nosik Abed. The final analysis is like a garment. As in the bracket says, Chenik Dim Mukupeles. That's why he put this halacha before the halacha of a completely folded talis. Even though with the Gemara, the complete folded talis comes previously. Shalimari Kodim is the Rabbanon, because it's juxtaposed to the previous halacha, which is the Rabbanon of Michodim Shlevet of the slave seal. So these are linked together. They're both the Rabbanon. Ayin Sham. In any event, the way we put out the talis today might be similar to the Marzev situation, but it's done at least now. So today, that's not done or to say the talis or anything, but rather because that's the way people wear talisim, and it looks nice. Tzadik, is the talis mekupelos munachzak. Tzadik, right? Somebody goes with a talis which is folded and on his lying on his shoulder. Chayev. Hachay perush. This means to say. Talis is large in its size. It wraps the entire body. It's only sent Rakok. If you want to carry only your shoulder, you should posto kulo. People take it off completely. And they fold it up from here and from there. and that those who don't extend it, just when it's, I guess they don't take it off. The Sheshan don't take it off. Actually, but they fold into 2 or to 4. Then he puts it just on his shoulder. This case of Chayiv Chatas, Mishum Chagavna Eno Malbush Klal. This is not considered to be a garment at all. Zel Talis. That's by a talis. But a scarf is not so big. The Sudar Hayu Regilim Atin Chachamim had no seam. Will say so some Arosham. The Sudar was part originally of the turban. That time the Chachamim used to put on their heads. Especially they find, and it used to come down their shoulders. Amru. They said, "What's a sudra?" Sod Hashem Lireab. It's like a contraction of Sod Hashem Lireab. Chem Sachim Sutra the market Tzur Rabbanan. The Mars turban is like that of a Tamachacham Einsham. Chem Fil Onasa Rosha Aktefal Ad Aktefai Mutar. So therefore, even if you only wore it on your head up to the shoulder, it's permissible. But time the Suda dark become the issue ain't a goal because that's what a Suda does because it's not so big. And at the end of the Suda there are some hard threads which come out and you hold them in your hand and they shouldn't fall. They are like loops. I'm thinking the word loops, but fasteners. But even if it's not, the thread is not tied to his finger, but he holds in his hand, that's sufficient. But the command says, any one of these scarves which does not cover his head and most of his body, even though the sudar is much smaller than a talus. It's a turban plus. Nevertheless, low, it shouldn't be so small. That can't cover his head and most of his torso. So sakonis kitsara. It was this sakonis. Sounds like a small knife, but the name is small scarf. It doesn't cover his head and most of his body. You can't wear it like a clothing. But what you can do is make it like a belt. Because Shnei Rashav, and you tie together its 2 heads, I did shatzim by these fasteners, Lamatameh, below the shoulder, Saviv Aguf, around the body. None of these things are things we wear today. He has everything in a totally different direction. Somebody goes with the towels which is folding the shoulder. After he put it on his head, he puts the ends on his shoulders. In other words, it is extended, the towel. It's not compacted on the shoulder. But it's not folded on shoulders. It's not folded on shoulders like the server reform towels, which comes down in front. But it extends in its breadth below his shoulder. Because since he is, so to speak, wrapped in his house and covered in it, his shoulders and his body, even though it's foreshortened on the bottom of it, mutter, that's okay. In this manner, he's allowed to wrap himself in his talis under his coat and bring it to shul ad kalashon. But see, Rabbeinu Ramah small, even though you put your right side on left shoulder, the derech lov shakach, that's still considered derech levush. It's still only to adorn oneself. The shari and tzmisel ad kalashon. He says in the brackets here about Gazu, need possible toes b'sif lamed. And by mistake, this I go up here as sif lamed. Toes commotion tomar tasham. That she shaychel sif chavtes, and it should be chavtes. And if you go learn that way, and so chomash talking you don't need to come out to all the difficulties which talk about. But obviously, this sif requires explanation, and the explanation will be in Yirtzeh Hashem forthcoming.